to start out today by saying thank you to the American Legion Post 431 for the opportunity to speak to you today. We are all gathered here today to acknowledge Memorial Day, a day set aside to remember, honor, reflect, mourn, and appreciate those who have fallen while serving the United States Armed Forces. Memorial Day, previously known as Decoration Day, first started after the Civil War. Many individuals began holding tributes and reciting prayers for those who have fallen during the Civil War, which led to Decoration Day, a national day of remembrance characterized by giving speeches and decorating soldiers' graves with flowers and flags. Decoration Day was originally just a day to remember those who lost their lives in the Civil War, but it developed into Memorial Day after the United States found itself in World War I. Today, Memorial Day is a solemn day to remember all the American lives lost in every war. As someone raised in a family with several military members in the family tree, this day has a deep meaning for me. My great-grandfather, grandpa, and cousin all made the choice to serve our country, which I am more than grateful for. Although none of them died during their time of service, it gives me an extra appreciation for those who did give the ultimate sacrifice to this beautiful country. I would like to express my sheer gratitude and support for the families of those who have had a family member pass away due to the devastations of war and military service. I cannot imagine what it would be like to experience this type of loss and feeling that your family member will never return home. I am forever grateful for their bravery, service, and sacrifice to this country. One of the many who has served is my great-grandfather, Adam Adamovich, a sergeant in World War II who served the United States when he was only 18 years old. In July of 1945, he was awarded the Bronze Star Medal by the President of the United States for his act of courage and complete selflessness during his combat in France. The award letter read, "Acting on his own initiative, Sergeant Adamovich dashed across an open field to warn his platoon command post of an approaching enemy patrol. Without regard for his own safety, he performed his self-appointed task under intense enemy shell fire and observation." Sergeant Adamovich's unhesitant response to the distress of his comrades, courage and devotion to duty reflect credit on himself and the armed forces. Although it is clear that he was a strong man, he still never once brought up his daring actions. He never talked about his experience in the war with us, or looked for any recognition for his actions. He was willing to risk his life for his fellow soldiers and his country. It floors me that a man that courageous and willing to give up anything for his country wouldn't even think of asking a single person for acknowledgement. No one except my great-grandpa knew about the letter he received from the president until after he passed away, and my family members found the letter locked away in my great-grandpa's safe. This type of selfless service is an example of how members of the military take care of one another, and it is an example we can all learn from. Similar to my great-grandpa on the other side of the family also had a humble personality. He never mentioned his war days with us unless we asked. If I'm being honest, he was the most humble, gentle person I ever met. He served this country knowing that he wanted the best life for us and future generations. Having these family connections to veterans, it means even more to me the sacrifices of those who have given their life for this country. Although my family members and everyone who has served the United States Armed Forces deserves utmost respect and appreciation, today we must remember and especially honor those who have never got to come home to their families, those who never got to tell their stories, and those who never got to experience the American freedoms that they worked so hard to earn. Our class trip to Washington, D.C. was another experience that helped me realize how important and significant Memorial Day is. Being able to personally experience Arlington National Cemetery, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, the Vietnam War Memorial, and World War II Memorial was a very humbling experience. When I was there, I caught myself becoming a bit emotional, in a state of disbelief, and almost in shock when I realized the overwhelming amount of tombstones at Arlington, the number of names on the Vietnam Wall, and the amount of people who died due to war. Although I may never be able to comprehend how devastating war is and the amount of lives that it takes, I, along with every American, can do their part to remember and honor those brave souls who have given so much for us. Those humble, brave, selfless people who have gave up their lives did not serve for recognition, but instead they served because they wanted to protect and preserve the freedoms we have in the United States for future generations. The freedoms we have today should not be taken for granted. From the smaller sacrifices to the ultimate sacrifice of giving one's life, our freedoms did not come easy. We must remember what all of these brave men and women have done for this country. These sacrifices and more is why we should be beyond thankful for what the U.S. is today. So next time you glance at a flag, think of the millions and millions of lives lost, injuries, years away from home, brave actions, and every individual who has served the United States of America in our history in order to keep our red, white, and blue flag flying. I encourage every American today and every day to take time to remember, reflect, and honor those who have given their last breath for this country. America is the land of the free because of the brave. Thank you.
Diane Carlson Evans was an advocate and driving force behind the Vietnam Women's Memorial, the memorial honoring the 11,000 women who served in Vietnam and the 8 women who died there, all nurses. Diane served and volunteered for duty as a 21-year-old newly graduated nurse in 1968. She later wrote, "We didn't study Vietnam in high school or college. We saw it on TV on the 6 o'clock news, but it didn't terrify me. We were all naive. All of us young men and women who went to Vietnam or to any war, we did not know what we were getting into until we got there, because only war prepares you for war." She was so right. We were so naive. I know I was. I enlisted in the Navy, became a corpsman, a medic, and I volunteered for duty in Vietnam with the Marines. In 1969, I found myself in the northernmost portion of South Vietnam, a place called Dong Ha, Quang Tri Province in I Corps. I was with Lima Company 3-4, 3rd Marine Division. We were usually in the northwestern part of I Corps, and it wasn't the usual rice paddies and lowland you associate with Vietnam. It was very hilly, mountainous really, with thick jungle cover and red clay soil that when it rained became very slippery and stuck to the bottom of your jungle boots, your clothes, and your skin. It was very hot and humid, but it could get cold high in the mountains, especially in the rainy season. The Marines I was with were 0311, riflemen, infantry, boots on the ground, grunts, and I was a boots on the ground doc, and I was only 19 years old. We usually protected and patrolled out of fire support bases. I would like to tell you about one fire support base in particular, and the Marines and corpsmen that were there. Fire Support Base Russell, or LZ, Landing Zone Russell, was a 105 howitzer artillery support base on a hill about 10 miles east of Laos and about 4 miles south of the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone, between North and South Vietnam. The LZ existed for a little over 1 year, 1968 and 1969, with its 6-gun artillery battery continuously manned, supported, and protected by around 300 Marines, artillerymen, infantry support units, and a small detachment of Navy medical corpsmen. LZ Russell's perimeter was about 2 acres of land. The main LZ on the flattened top of the hill. The main LZ was probably only about 60 feet by 60 feet. The rest of that 2 acres was vertical. It was a very steep hill with sandbag bunkers built into the hillside. There was no electricity and no running water. Concertina wire encircled the defoliated firing zone below the fortifications. But this did not slow down the NVA suicide sappers. On February 25, 1969, they attacked the base, got inside the perimeter, and killed 25 Marines. I was fortunate not to have been present. I did not arrive in country until April. In September of 1969, we learned we were being pulled back. Fire Support Base Russell was to be abandoned and destroyed. On September 20th, large helicopters removed the artillery from Russell in preparation for the demolition. On September 21st, the engineers finished placing explosive C4 inside the bunkers and attached a spider web of detonation cord to every charge. We were waiting for helicopters to lift us off of a bomb ready to explode. At about 1300 hours, 1 o'clock p.m., I was sitting on the south edge of the metal landing pad waiting for the choppers. Suddenly a Marine, though I think it may have been an angel of God, came running over the northeast part of the hill yelling, "Get down, get down." And instantly there was a huge explosion and fireballs shooting up into the sky. This was followed by more explosions and total confusion and chaos among us. We grabbed our gear and ran down to another LZ on the lower south ridge line outside the perimeter of Russell. Then came the call, "Corpsmen up," and instantly knew they were injured or dying back on top of the exploding fire support base. I started to run back up the hill. About halfway up the mountain, I came upon another corpsman helping a wounded, naked African American walk down the hill. But when I got to them, I realized this wasn't an African American. He was a severely burned, in shock, white Marine. He spoke a few words, collapsed, and we got him to the medevac area. One other Marine was severely burned, and numerous Marines were wounded with shrapnel from exploding ordnances. After the wounded were medevaced, helicopters took the rest of us to other fire support bases. An investigation was started immediately as to what caused the early explosion. It was determined that a Kit Carson scout, a North Vietnamese soldier who defected to the American side, threw a lit cigarette into open explosive powder in the ammo dump. They said it was an accident. About 6 weeks after the explosion on Russell, word got around that they could not find one of the Marines who had been medevaced. An Article 32 Board of Inquiry was convened for the purpose of determining where the missing Marine was. The investigation was started because the Marine's parents had not received a letter from him in weeks and wanted to know where he was and if he was okay. That was the last I heard of the investigation. As the years passed, I would occasionally look at pictures I took while in country and remember Russell. Ironically, about 1980, I read in a major newspaper that a mother was suing the Marine Corps because they lost her son as he served in Vietnam. Ironic because I knew a little bit about this incident and it was always in the shadows of my memory. About the year 2000, with the help of the internet, I typed in Fire Support Base Russell and pushed the enter key. I was amazed that there were other people who were interested in this place in the middle of the jungle so long ago and far away. One of those people was Ron Martz, a Marine who after his service went to college and was a reporter for the Atlanta, Georgia newspaper. Ron had investigated the unexplained disappearance of this Marine. He had, through the Freedom of Information Act, obtained the record of the Article 32 Board's findings. Ron analyzed the records of the hearing and found discrepancies and inconsistencies. Not only did he have that, but he also had the names of those who were killed and of the Marine that was missing. Lance Corporal Leonel Mendoza Silveira, or Portugal as his nickname was, a Marine sniper, was killed in the Fire Support Base Russell explosion. He was heroically pulling detonation cord from the explosive material when another explosion took his life. PFC Grover Bowen, a Marine Corps sniper, was killed in the explosion on Russell. He was the Marine I attempted to help. PFC James W. Jackson Jr., the Marine who went missing. The Article 32 investigation listed him as MIA, missing in action. The investigation could find no evidence of him being on any military medical facility or Navy hospital ship. Eyewitnesses stated they saw him with a shrapnel wound get on the medevac helicopter, but due to confusion and conflicting testimony, all the inquiry board could come up with was that they did not know what happened to him. In 1980, his status was officially changed from MIA to KIA, killed in action. The final analysis was that in the confusion and chaos, James W. Jackson Jr. was probably left on the fire support base, Russell, and his remains are still there. In 2019, on September 21st, Ron Martz, Lieutenant Robert Hassman, the Marine Corps lieutenant I served under, went on patrols and recon missions with in Vietnam. Their sons and one other Marine from Lima Company returned to the top of Fire Support Base Russell. They had a small ceremony commemorating the 50th anniversary of this tragic event. They toasted the wounded and the dead and the missing with warm beer. Lieutenant Robert Hassman wrote a book about his tour of duty and especially Fire Support Base Russell, and his return there in 2019. In it he states, "We placed flowers to honor the casualties. We obtained GPS location points to help the Defense POW MIA Accounting Agency locate the remains of the resting place of James Jackson Jr. It occurred to me while taking in this beautiful view that if the remains of James' DNA are never found, he at least is likely to repose on a tranquil green slope of Russell overlooking the mountains of what is now the San Phan Khan National Forest. Not a bad resting place." This Memorial Day, remember them and the more than 1 million men and women who have died in the United States military service. We dedicate the last Monday in May, one day, to their memory, while all the while realizing that for the families of those who gave their lives, the Gold Star families, their mourning is not limited to 24 hours a year. The Vietnam Peace Accord was signed by the United States, South Vietnam, and North Vietnam on January 27, 1973, but there was no peace. On April 30th, 1975, the day Saigon fell, the victorious North Vietnamese fell to the... On April 30th, 1975, the day Saigon fell to the victorious North Vietnamese Army, David Brinkley, NBC's widely respected evening news anchor, broadcast from Arlington National Cemetery, with the thousands of graves behind him calling silent attention to the terrible cost of the Vietnam War. "America did not lose this war," Brinkley said, "because we never tried to win it. Instead, we tried to help our ally, South Vietnam, until we decided not to." Afghanistan veterans, these words apply to you also. America did not lose the war in Afghanistan because we never tried to win it. Instead, we tried to help our ally Afghanistan until the bureaucrats and military leaders in Washington decided not to. So today I personally remember Leonel Mendoza, Portugal Silveira, Grover Bowen, James W. Jackson Jr. I remember them as we non-vets pause to give a backward glance. We say to you, slip off that pack, set it down by the crooked trail, drop your steel helmet alongside, shed those magazine-loaded bandoliers away from your sweat-soaked shirt, lay that silent weapon down, and step out of the heat. Feel the soothing cool breeze right down to your soul, and rest forever in the shade of our love. There are no heroes here, only those who are willing to sacrifice it all. Those we remember here today and honor bear witness to the selflessness described in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13. Greater love has no one than to lay down his life for one's friends. Thank you.